I was talking to a client the other day, and I said, I was never a can't wait for the weekend kind of guy, right? Because I think when you work a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of job, all you do is wait for the weekends. And then, and then when Monday comes, you dread it. But I'm sure you guys can relate that, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
We work a lot of hours, but as they say, it never feels like you're working, right?
Now we making moves.
So, do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, I'm Frank Petrella. I am a hairstylist, and I've been cutting hair for about 32 years now. So in May will be 33 years that I've been a professional hairstylist. I have a salon and spa in Coburg that I currently still run a full book from. And thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to be part of this, new podcast.
Thank you for coming on. My first question is, how have you been cutting hair for 33 years when you're only 32?
How are you my favorite person in the world? But I started when I was pretty young, and now I'm old. So
I guess so. Our first question that we have for you is if you've been in the industry for 32 years?
32 years, almost 33, yeah.
Can you tell us where that started?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So do you want like the full story, or do you want the condensed version? Because it basically started when I had no idea what I wanted. I'm sorry?
I want the juicy version.
Yeah, juicy version. Oh, yeah. So I had no idea what I wanted to do with life, and at the time, a very good friend of mine, his family, mom and father, were both hairstylists, and they owned a couple of salons, and they encouraged me to go to hairdressing school. So I decided against it. I was like, nah, I have no desire to do that. I did a couple of odd jobs here and there. I did a short stint in the armed forces, which wasn't for me. I realized that pretty quickly, that green's not my color at all. So I bounced from there. And anyways, after that, after bouncing around, I decided to take them up on the offer, and I went to hairdressing school. I went to Career in Oshawa. That's the school that I went to.
Nice.
I decided to give it about a month to see if I liked it. If I didn't like it, then I would move along to the next thing. And it just so happened that within the first month, I fell in love with the whole thing. So I started cutting hair for my friend's family in 1990. I worked for them for, I think, almost about 2 years. Then I switched to another salon, which, at the time seemed like a good idea, but wasn't. So I was only there for about 6 months, and then I decided to open my first and my only, my very own salon. So, so that was pretty much the start of the career. And then I've worked for myself ever since.
How many salons have you owned again?
7. I'm on my 7th right now.
Now, how many are you just operating one, and you've owned 7 over time, and now you operate?
So I've owned 7 over time. 3 at one time we're operating, but at the moment I'm only operating the one.
Okay.
And I'm barely operating it, after COVID, of course, right? Which I'm sure we're not going to talk a lot about COVID, but it's been a slow start getting back up and running again. So but yes, right now I'm currently just running the one.
Nice.
Yeah. So so that's pretty much the story. I was I was a little bit unsure what I wanted to do, and then I found hair, and that was that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's interesting because I was never one of those I don't know if you've ever seen, over the years, I've seen people be interviewed as, what got you into the hair industry? And people are like, oh, I was doing my doll's hair, or I was cutting my sister's hair or my brother's hair. And I just knew I always wanted to be a hairstylist. Like, I didn't have any of that. I went into hair school like not having a clue, you know, never having touched a curling iron or anything. So it was interesting. Yeah.
I think people underestimate, you know, the profession. So they're like, well, that sounds like a silly thing for me to do. And then they go to hair school and then they realize it's like,
Yeah.
like the structure and the rules and the, you know, and,
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, for some reason, it's just so serious, like way more serious than you anticipate. And then you get into it and you're like, this is serious and I'm serious.
Yeah.
Serious.
So one of the things that I've I really enjoyed, and I've been a big part of over the years, being part of different organizations and associations, is that like in 1989, when I first started hairstyling school, it was literally like, you know, you were a dropout or a single mom who was getting government funding to go to school. So it was viewed as really a last ditch resort for a career or a job of some sort, right? It wasn't, that's how people perceived being a hairstylist, or at that time, beautician, right? You know, and then over the last 30 years, watching the industry grow and people's perception of us, you know, through reality TV or even our own professionalism, our education and all those things, you know, we've elevated our profession now to where people take us seriously, right? And it is a profession that people choose to go into, not as a last resort.
For sure. Yeah. I was just thinking about beauty school dropout from Greece. Cause like, that's really like, they're saying like your life's such a disaster. You couldn't even make it through beauty school. But like Shannon, right? Like beauty schools, like
it's so hard.
It's hard.
It's so fucking hard.
Yeah. And I was 30 when I went to hair school. Like,
right. So here's the funny thing is I was on the licensing committee at the time, and we were a part of the group that changed the minimum requirement to get into hairstyling school to be grade 12. So yeah, so it used to be grade 8. You as long as you graduated grade 8, you could go to hairstyle like beauty school, right? So it was kind of funny because we, you know, the committee basically consisted of a bunch of people who would never have been hairstylists had that rule applied back when we went to school. So, you know, but we realized the importance of education and making our profession more serious than just a grade 8 education. So, you know, yeah, so we were part of the licensing committee that, implemented that, or made that happen.
that's
So,
really
yeah.
nice.
Kind of ironic though, isn't it? Because I mean, my education ended at grade 11, and then I went to hairstyling school, you know, so.
Well, but that's why you know firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got into hair school with my grade 12 equivalency.
Hey, as long as you got grade 12, that's all that matters. Right?
We're all here now. And technically we've all graduated post-secondary education. So there you go.
Right. So you're one of the intelligent ones that got your grade 12 and then went to hairstyling school. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's been like I said, it's been interesting to watch, you know, the elevation of the industry, or how people perceive us, you know. So
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the beginning of your product line? Because I think that would be a lot of people would be very, very interested to hear about starting a product line.
yeah. So again, I started my career knowing right away that I wanted to be an educator, or I wanted to be on stage or sharing information, even though I didn't have any information to share. So within my first year of being a hairstylist, I took a job with a company called Tressa, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but at the time they were a color and perm company. So I was a color and perm technician. I used to go teach people how to do fancy perms. But so I was working as an educator for that company, and I loved it. I had a great time, and this was my first introduction to kind of paying attention to the development of products and what goes into that, right? then I went to go work for, after I realized color was not my forte. I mean, I still do color in the salon, but it's not my passion. Cutting is my passion. So I went to go work for a company that had its own cutting method, and it was the company was called ABBA. Mm-hmm. And the Alan Benfield Bush had created a cutting method, which he called the method. So I went to go work for them for a short time, and then they sold to an umbrella company called Styling Technologies. They were a company that was buying up all these beauty lines. So Alan and Jim Markham were partners on ABBA, and then Jim went off to create Pureology, and then I went to go work for Pureology, and I learned a lot from Jim. We were one of the first shampoos at the time that were boasting zero sulfates, which, you know, at the time people weren't talking sulfates. So it really made me start paying attention to, you know, more of the curiosity of like, so when a sales rep comes into my salon and boasts a product will do this, I started to get more curious on, you know, well, what ingredients make it do that? You know, like, you know, because people just say things, I think, sometimes to try and get a sale, right? So I was working for Pureology, and I had a great, it was 7 years I worked for that company, and we watched that company grow from basically like 7 products to like, I think at the time when he sold to L'Oreal, it was like 56 products. And, you know, he ended up selling that company for about $384 million, right? Yeah. But having said that, that was now the second company that had been sold to a bigger company. And that seemed to be in the mid 2000s, it seemed to be happening a lot, where all the bigger corporations, and I'm not saying anything's bad again, you know, like it's just not for me. I'm not a corporate guy, and I didn't want to go work for a corporation. So I went and worked for a couple of other companies, and they were all getting consumed at that time. You know, these bigger, you know, umbrella companies were just buying everything up. So that's when I decided to start research and development of my own product line. So in 2007, I launched my first 7 products. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it really became, I mean, I enjoyed 2 things. I enjoyed educating myself on ingredients and what makes what work or not work. And I enjoyed education, like being an educator. So I thought, well, if I can't educate for some of the bigger companies because I don't fit into that corporate mold, I'll create my own line and I'll do my own education. So that's what I did.
One day, tell the people the name of the product line and drop your Instagram handle so that they can follow.
So my product company is called Instant Gratification, and I'm known as IG Hair Care on Instagram and on the website too, ighaircare.com.
On the education front too, that was something else we wanted to talk to you about. I know that you created your own haircutting guide. How did that like evolve and come to fruition?
So there's 2 parts to that. One is that I had the amazing good fortune of working with so many great mentors over the years. I mean, you know, there's something to be said about very talented and very successful artists sharing their information with you, and being open to receive it. You know, it's a very, to me, it was just a beautiful part of my growth as a hairstylist, where, you know, I don't know about you guys, but as a young hairstylist, there were certain hair designers that it would have been like the equivalent of like someone running into the queen, you know? I mean, I was just starstruck, right? And I remember I was doing a hair show. I was in Orlando Premiere, and I was doing an updo and on stage in front of a group, and Martin Parsons, who we all know, you know, of course, unfortunately passed away. He was a big inspiration to me and a wonderful human being and mentor to me. I learned a lot of his techniques, and I was using his techniques on stage, and I look up from from my model, and there he is standing in the audience with his arms crossed, watching me with this like big smile on his face, like almost like, oh, the little bird has flown off, right? And meanwhile, I felt like fainting. I thought I was going to pass out because there he is, just watching me with that smile. And I thought, wow. So having these people share this information with me, and then circling back to what I was saying about that I don't consider myself to be a creative person. I mean, like I said, I didn't grow up braiding hair. I didn't grow up, I can't draw. I am not an artist. So I approached hair from a very technical standpoint. So the cutting manual that I basically put together as part of my education is just how I do hair, based on people sharing information with me, and the fact that that's how I understand it better than, like I said, I don't consider myself very creative.
Interesting, yeah. Good little evolution.
What's that?
I said that's a good little evolution, because that's literally like, I feel like sometimes when like people that are like, I know you just said you don't consider yourself a creative, and I think about the way I approach like even teaching dance, which I did before this, and doing hair.
Right.
I feel the same as you. So it's just when you do like come from like a technical standpoint, I personally overthink everything. Like even when we were coming up with this concept, and you were like dumb this down and simplified, it's literally that simple. Like you literally just taught people how to do the way you do hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, it's for me, it's all based on foundations and shapes, right? Angles, everything. Part of my education curriculum, I always tell people, like, I'm not here to teach you how to cut hair. I'm here to share some information with you. But all I want you to know is, if you're going to take a piece of hair and cut it, I want you to know why you're cutting it that particular way, how it's going to lay, how it will fall. Don't just pick up random pieces of hair and hope for the best. It's never going to work, right?
That's what people think we do.
Well, I think for about 17 of my 33 years, I think that's what I did do. But now,
Hey, the laugh, you got it.
I mean, I still have moments where I'm like, you know what?
Right.
I'm just going to thin this out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. What a great industry that we can do. I mean, I stand behind the chair. I formulate products. I work on mannequin. There's so many. It's the diversity of our industry. We can do photo shoots. We can do fashion shows. We do bridal updo. It's just so many aspects to our industry that we can never be bored.
Yeah, that's the best. Barbering.
Right? Barbering, right?
Yeah.
Barber.
I do find there was this one moment in my life where, because I barber, now my job is very exciting and I do a lot of really cool stuff, but I do the same thing over and over and over every day. And I do remember a particular argument that I was having with my ex-boyfriend. He said, "You have no idea what it's like to do a job where you do the same thing over and over." And I was like, what?
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah.
Huh?
We're going to bring you your hot towel.
But do you find that because you're a female barber, you have a bit of an edge? Like it's it's a bit of a selling feature for you, especially in your community?
It can be. It can be. Sometimes it's the majority of people don't seem to think twice about it. They're just like, "Can I have a haircut?" And then you're like, "Yes."
Yeah.
But in terms of different hair types, obviously, like there's some people that are more concerned about the skill level of their barber. I have worked in some shops that it was all guys, bro, if you will. And, I noticed a lot of clients giving me a harder time. Like the the standard of my work needed to be higher.
Yeah.
Where like a guy who looked like them and dressed like them
Right.
wouldn't call, like they would be okay with a mediocre haircut from them, but from me, they needed it to be perfect, and they didn't have like I've noticed a lot of people that don't have a problem picking apart my work.
Yeah.
That be afraid to pick it apart from another guy.
Right. Right.
But
I find that.
like because I'm good,
Yeah.
I don't really like. I don't really have to like worry about that stuff now. Cause like,
Yeah.
Mic drop.
yeah. Anytime somebody's like, "Can you do like a lineup?" and I'm like, "Sit right down."
And
They're
the
like,
chair.
like, I want it like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I said, sit down.
Yeah.
Sir.
Well, good, because I mean, you know, you take your craft seriously and you want to be better, right? So, you know, if that's because of a gender thing, well, you know, that's what it is. But because I think it's amazing how many females have chosen to barber. You know, I have a lot of friends, especially in the States, that are they just strictly barber, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I spent my whole career with women telling me they prefer male hairstylists, you know, to women hairstylists, which I, you know,
Well, I mean, like we all know my best friend is a beautiful blonde male hairdresser, but
Yeah.
he gets like the fancy ladies that want blonde man in YSL shoes doing their hair. So it's funny, yeah. It's funny to see women's dynamic with male hairstylists. So it'd be interesting to watch your day. You know, what I
right?
mean? In the opposite, like.
My
Yeah.
I used to barber with this guy. He's a really, really talented barber, but he's pretty hot and he's buff. And he worked as a hairstylist for a little while, and he's like, I had to quit because my clients were just so in love with me.
What a problem to have, huh?
Oh my God. So, what's next for Frankie Petrella?
Wow, isn't that an interesting question? So, you know, I've reached a point in my life where, so you know, and I don't want this to sound like it's coming off the wrong way, but I find myself in a bit of a predicament because I sacrificed. I shouldn't say sacrifice. That's such a bad word. I chose certain aspects of my personal life to raise a family and to have a lot of children. I had 5 children, as Rachel knows, right? You know, so it was really hard for me to balance, you know, the travel and the, you know, the opportunities that were presented to me and still have a bit of a decent, you know, family life, right? So now that my children have all grown and I have all kinds of free time, I think I'd like to pursue, you know, some of those avenues again. You know, maybe start to travel a bit more, doing some education and hair on the road again. But the predicament that I find myself in is that now I'm much older, so I don't have the energy that I used to, or the desire to travel like I used to want to, right? So, you know, it's like, wow, I mean, I'm super comfortable now. I'm enjoying what I do. You know, the product line is doing really well, knock on wood. You know, I have a great full clientele. You know, why do I want to walk away from that, right? So, yeah, so many options. I don't know what direction I'm going to take, Rachel. So,
I feel like I could have answered that question for you. I know what's next for Frank. You and Rachel are gonna meet at a bar in Oshawa.
Don't tell the people where we're going.
Yeah, because I get asked all the time. Like my clients are like, "Are you getting close to retiring? Are you getting close to, you know, doing this or that?" But you know, I would almost love to be pushed in a direction, like something to happen that is like that aha moment that I'm like, this is what I want to do. Because you know, right now I'm, like I said, everything's so good. I don't want to change anything. So
that means that you're open. That's actually the best position to be in, because you're open to whatever. And you've just said what you want. So the universe is going to be like, here's the path.
Yeah. So, you know, I got some education dates booked for 2023 already, which I'm so happy about. You know, it's been a tough couple of years for people who like to, you know, I think Rachel, I may have told you this before, but I don't do well online. I don't do well, like, you know, teaching haircutting over Zoom or anything like that. I get my energy from being surrounded by people, other creative people, right? So, you know, I know a lot of people during the last couple of years took their education straight to online. I never watched any. I didn't do any. It just doesn't. It's not something that appeals to me. So, the fact that we can get back into a classroom setting just is so exciting for me.
Amazing. Yeah. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Shannon, do you have any other questions for Frank today?
No, I just, maybe we'll have a follow-up conversation. You can tell me how the cheesecake was.
You know what? We'll definitely do that. So we should stay in touch because I'm actually going to be out in, I'll be in Kelowna in March.
Okay.
So that's distance from Vancouver, but maybe I'll bring Rachel with me and we'll cross country down through British Columbia.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
It was nice meeting you.
Like I said, I really appreciate you having me on and letting me, talk about me, which is my favorite subject.
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much, Frank.
Good night, guys. Thank you. Rachel, text me, okay?
Sounds good. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.